Welcome, everyone. This is my YouTube channel of another special episode of Signs, Plants, and Stellar Rhythms. I'm your host, Shamanic Astrology Erik Roth, here to take you on another astrological journey through another cycle that is going to be beginning in August here of 2022. And before I do that, I'm recording from a different place today. I'm doing some traveling, so I'm in a hotel room between where I live in Medford and down to Southern California, and then going to be visiting and doing readings, and up to about Turlock Expo area at the end of August 6th when I do that. So different background today for all of you that are following this channel, and some also exciting developments with the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School, which is now the Turning of the Ages Mystery School. Going to be doing a whole night in-person night sky event at the September equinox between September 21 and 25. So if you happen to be in that area or wanting to learn about the night sky and you follow my channel, maybe you want to learn from me, this is absolutely perfect time to do that. You can go to turningtheages.com and find out more information there. Sign up for my newsletter as well. Or you can contact me for more information, or send a comment on the YouTube page. Also be doing some a whole new webinar series about the zodiac stars and how to connect with them personally, including learning your personal stars. So there's a whole series that I'm doing with Kaylin Castell that starts September 6th at mystaralchemy.com. All right, so now that we got that cleared up, we're going to go right into the meeting of this great episode of Signs, Planets, and Stellar Rhythms. I have a lot on my mind. All right, let's take a look at that, and I'm going to share my screen and let's move over to that space. All right, here we go. So this is, as you can see here, this episode is a special episode because it really takes into account the entire 2022-2023 Vesta Cycle and what it's about. So in the sign of Aquarius and Pisces. So it isn't just, even though it starts in the sign of Aquarius, it works in Pisces as part of the whole initiation of this Vesta Cycle. And we're going to go right into what it means. As you know, I've written a book about Vesta, so I really follow Vesta throughout each and every month and look for each and every cycle that comes up. And this time it happens to come up on August 22nd. So this is the special day when that full Vesta cycle starts. So let's take a look at what we're going to be, what bullet points we're going to talk about here. So Vesta, what Vesta means in Shamanic Astrology, and just Vesta in general, what it is, and of course dive into this new synodic cycle of Vesta. The space between Pisces and Aquarius. So this is the connection of the opposition point of Pisces and Aquarius and where that is in the zodiacal stars. Because there's a particular star that Vesta is really making several passes through. Also, Saturn plays a role in this whole cycle, and then what does it all mean? So we're going to get into that, including the Sadian symbol of the opposition point. So that'll be fun to dive into here. All right, so for those who are not familiar with Vesta, I have done one other Vesta cycle video, and that was when Vesta was in Virgo, spent 9 months in that sign. And that was in between 2020 and 2021, and that was a whole episode. You could take a look at that. I can link it to this video if you wanted to check out more about Vesta in the previous cycle. All right, so Vesta is the second most massive asteroid between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, discovered in 1807, and it was located when it was discovered at 29 degrees Virgo, which is the sign that Vesta really, the asteroid really connects with, archetypally speaking. It is an asteroid that is almost a planet in that it has a core, a mantle, and a crust. So it's like a planetoid or a minor planet. It's a piece of a planet that tried to form billions of years ago, and this is, as you can see, a picture right here of what it looks like today when the New Dawn probe went out there and took incredible photos of it. It is the brightest asteroid, and the only asteroid that can be readily seen with the naked eye, and only during a time when it gets relatively close to the Earth. So this is the time when it's at opposition with the Sun. So opposition with the Sun meaning the Sun on one side of the sky, and Vesta on the other side, east and west. So that is what Vesta is all about, and we're going to talk about the what Vesta means, the goddess herself, because she, of course, the asteroid is named after the goddess Vesta. Was the fourth one discovered, and it followed the practice of naming world after the Roman pantheon, and then the goddesses for the previous asteroids. So Vesta, which was Hestia in Greece, was the goddess of the hearth, fire. She stood for what was sacred. She was also shared whenever they did a particular invocation in Rome. She was the one that was shared first, including in ancient Greece. She was the one that was shared first and last. Vesta's purpose was to care for the sacred fire within the home, community, and the temple priestesses became the caretakers of the sacred fire within the temples themselves, and stood apart as sovereign unto themselves, as unmarried, or otherwise known as Vestal virgins. It's not the same as the version we know today in modern times, where you've never had sex. It's meaning they're unmarried, meaning they have not joined the quote middle world complications. They are focused on their spiritual life, but they do at times. In fact, there's stories of them when a traveler comes in of sexual experiences and a dedication to the goddess. So it would be done under a particular sacred envelope and space for that to happen. And so Vesta was held in reverence in the temples and within the home around the hearth. And some great information you can find about Vesta is in the book Asteroid Goddesses by Demetra George. I recommend to learn more about that. And I also wrote about that and refer back to her book at times in my book, Sacred Hearth Within. All right, so Vesta and Shamanic Astrology, here are the gifts. It creates opportunities to connect with the middle world, terrestrial initiators of Saturn and Jupiter. It is as an expression of its sacred devotion to a specific sign energy or archetypal energy. That means whatever sign Vesta is in your chart is made sacred for you in that chart. It awakens the natural vibration or heartbeat of the sacred qualities within the emerging Vesta archetype. So let's say archetype, it's a sign, it's basically interchangeable here in this video, and in the body of knowledge known as Shamanic Astrology paradigm. So, all right, let's take a look from a solar system perspective. Vesta has an average orbit of 3.63 years. Here it is in the line of planets, exaggerated so that we can actually see them on the screen. Vesta becomes visible for a short time during its opposition to the Sun, as I mentioned before. And then 2 full orbits of Vesta equal 1/4 of an orbit of Saturn. So there's a really powerful relationship between that asteroid and the planet Saturn. And 8 orbits get very close to 1 full orbit of Saturn. So 8 orbits, almost exactly 29 years. And Saturn's about 29.5 years. So there's a relationship when we have Vesta come back to its original space at our 29th birthday. Saturn is almost coming back, and sometimes it gets there a little early, and sometimes closer to our 30th birthday. It depends on the retrograde loop of Saturn, but in that 29 to 30 year marker, Vesta return and Saturn return. There's a lot of overlap between those 2 cycles at the same time in a person's life. Okay, so what is this new Vesta cycle? Well, every 16 to 17.5 months, Vesta experiences its opposition with the Sun. That means Vesta rising in the east and the Sun setting in the west. This is also known as Acronychal Rise. So it's a term for that opposition. We can even say the full moon would be an acronychal rise of the moon. The last time Vesta had its acronychal rise was on March 4th, 2021, and that was in the sign of Virgo. Again, refer back to the Vesta in Virgo video that I did back in late 2020. And again, I'll have a link to that. And so it was in the middle of its time, 2020, 2021, in that sign. It's also always in the middle of the retrograde transit. So whenever Vesta's in retrograde, like all the outer planets, the center of that retrograde time period is when it has its opposition with the sun, whatever planet that might be. This doesn't apply to Venus and Mercury because they orbit within the orbit of Earth. So they're between the Earth and the sun. And the next Acronychal Rise, so this the cycle that we're about to begin, that starts to take place August 22nd, 2022, will go on all the way until December 21st, 2023. So that's how long these cycles, again, every 16 to 17 and a half months, Vesta has an opposition with the sun. And it actually, whatever sign it's in, creates what is usually known as an overtone in the Shamanic Astrology paradigm. Although we are starting to take on a different kind of tag name and calling it an overstory. So like the archetypal story of this. So in this case, it would be coming up here, the Aquarius. But as an astrologer, Shamanic astrology, I would also include Pisces in that overstory as well. All right, so here's the chart. This is what that looks like with a Vesta Sun opposition. So we have Vesta and Saturn only about 8 degrees apart, opposite of the Sun here at 2939 Leo, with Vesta at 2939 Aquarius. But Venus is not far in Leo, as you can see here. It hasn't got too close to the Sun at that point, but it's in a rough opposition with Vesta and a lot closer to opposition with Saturn. So if one is trying to find Vesta rising and they're looking at where Venus ends up rising in the morning sky, a person can know at this time in late August there that Vesta would be setting at the time the sun is rising, because Venus is only currently visible in the morning sky. So these are ways to kind of like pinpoint where a planet might be by noticing other objects to help guide, especially the brighter objects, to help guide the eyes to where it needs to go. All right, so let's take a look at some of the major things. This isn't the entire, there's a lot more that I could put in this, and maybe I'll do a part 2 of the Vesta transit, but this goes into from 2022 into early 2023, plus also listing the last day of the Vesta cycle here in December of 2023. And the main ones that I want to share is August 22nd, 2022, Vesta rises, Acronychal Rise. There is a really interesting, this might be the one I did a video on, is about, in March of 2023, there's a Vesta Jupiter Chiron conjunction in 14 to 15 degree Aries. And the Vesta by then will have passed through Aquarius, passed through Pisces, and has already entered the sign of Aries at that time. So that is another like sensitive time. When I look at that, that is another big thing coming up here in March 2023. And they get so close, they get within 4 minutes. So they're almost all exactly aligned. Really, really almost nearly precise. So some other ones to think about, Vesta went retrograde earlier on July 7th at 6:53 Pisces. It goes direct on October 5th, 2022 at 22:58 Pisces. That means it's backtracked all the way, and by then it's only 4 degrees from Saturn. So Saturn plays a really pivotal role in the expression of this Vesta synodic cycle. And then Vesta re-enters Pisces again on November 20th, 2022. And then there's a Vesta Neptune conjunction on January 23rd, 2023, and then it enters the sign of Aries, so February 7th, 2023. So you can see the Vesta in Aquarius and Pisces runs from up here, March 10th, 2022, when it entered Aquarius, until it finally leaves Aquarius Pisces range, February 7th, 2023. That's almost a full year. That is about 11, just about 11 months long that Vesta is in those two signs. So that's why it's so important to bring in both of these archetypal energies into this synodic cycle. Vesta Acronychal Rise. This is where it will be in the sky. So for those keen-eyed sky observers, night sky observers, this is where it will be between the, this is the water bearer constellation. I duplicated that. There we go. So between the water bearer constellation and the goatfish constellation is where Vesta is. And right there on the edge between the signs here, you can see Aquarius and Pisces. And here's Saturn sitting here on the tail of the goatfish with the stars Nev Algeti and Mashira. There's a special star below Vesta that's really bright, really noticeable. Like all of these stars up here, they're a lot harder to see. They're more dim, but Omaha sits towards the south there, and it's one of the it's a prominent, what is one of the royal stars. So it sits at the mouth of the southern fish. So this is when we interpret the cycle of Vesta, Omaha's energy comes with it. So Omaha is like an honorary archetypal energy that flows right into that archetypal expression of Vesta. And then the goatfish, as Vesta makes its way, the tail, just below the tail, and below Saturn and back, like all of this is involved in the Vesta expression. Now I'm going to talk about the star of Omaha for a moment. Vesta stationed retrograde near Omaha, only about 2 degrees away back on July 7th, 2022. And it'll be close to the star at its opposition. This activates the southernmost royal star Omaha, sitting in the constellation Southern Fish. And this fish is drinking the cosmic waters poured down from the water bearer constellation. So this is a star of mystical dreams, magic, poetry, and higher ideals. It is vulnerable to the physical realm due to the overwhelming nature of reality, but those with Omaha connected to a personal planet point can thrive in spiritual and artistic arenas, especially with the ascendant, moon, Jupiter, and the sun. And this can open up. So Vesta is activating this whole thing. In fact, Saturn is going to be going over this area in 2023. So this will further open up that territory. Jupiter did this in 2021 and partly in 2022, and now Vesta, and then 1 year after another, Saturn is also there. So this can open up the mystical and artistic energies within the world, seeking perhaps a space for the heart to speak and the celestial waters to be swallowed. So there's a cosmic wisdom, magic, poetry, higher ideals coming down, streaming into the earth. And so Omaha is a star that can help process and work with that energy. And it sits at about 4 degrees Pisces. So if you were born with any personal point or planet within about 6 degrees of that, so say anywhere from the late degrees of Aquarius to 10 to 11 degrees of Pisces, this is a personal star for you. Now, there is a saving symbol for this Vesta opposition, Acronychal Rise, and it is 1 Pisces. So we always add 1 to the degree when we're referencing a saving symbol, because it goes from 1 to 30, and the degrees go from 0 to 29, 59. So once it gets to 30, it changes over to 0 in the zodiac. So we add 1 to that. So the saving symbol for this is a crowded public marketplace. It may seem strange, and it's each degree on the wheel, on the zodiacal wheel, has its own symbolism. So this is about human interchange. So it's like a crossroads between these two signs of Aquarius and Pisces. Bartering, commercialism, shopping centers, markets, internet, people fulfilling each other's desires, buyers, sellers, classifieds, consumables, money exchanges, products, globalizations, its rewards, and its traffic. Shops and landlords, storage, stockpiles, stock taking, inventory, the rules of fair trade, competition, public opinion, the economy. It sounds very mercurial or Gemini or Mercury-like, but it's kind of a transition between two signs. So there's an exchange between these two archetypes coming together here. Trade embargoes, big business, the stock market, advertising, that all goes into a crowded marketplace. And I'm sure there are a lot of other things that come into that space, and one could draw in for themselves what that means. And so when we are interpreting this incarnation, August 22nd to 2022 to December 21st, 2023, this is the entire span of the Vesta incarnation, which includes Aquarius and Pisces, Saturn's input, Omaha, and the saving symbol that I just read. So this is meant to be held sacred. Vesta is all about the sacredness of its expression, whatever archetypes are there. So it's holding the celestial realm within us all, heart, spirit, and consciousness. Assurance of our own limits and how they can serve us in compassion, service, and recognizing the need for sacred change. So I would also share sacred boundaries too, especially when you're bringing in Saturnian energy here. Fair exchanges of ideas and services with community and each other. Knowledge that we are all on the same planet. And of course, the Aquarius part of humanitarianism and the Pisces oneness and heart. So each of these things really can come up really, really strongly during this entire 16 to 17, or this, what looks to be a 16-month cycle for this Vesta incarnation. So for each astrologer or people that are into astrology, you can interpret it in various ways too. And if you're understanding what some of these symbols are, such as the signs of Aquarius and Pisces, Saturn, what Vesta means, the star Omaha, maybe even the tail of the goatfish, and the Sabian symbol, you can also bring in those energies and get quite a archetypal alchemy taking place, a blend of all of that together. So this is, I have a book out. It's called Sacred Heart Within, Vesta Astrology. You can check it out, an ebook and print on Amazon. And you can also order one directly from me if you wish. I'm happy to mail you a copy because the money goes directly to me. But in this book, you can discover what Vesta means for each sign and house position, along with the aspects of the various planets, including the lunar nodes and Chiron. And as a bonus, I got some insights about some of the other large asteroids, including House Athena, Juno, Ceres, and even Hygeia in there. Again, this is the only asteroid that we can see with the naked eye regularly when it goes into opposition with the sun. That means that is closest point to the Earth. And it has a really powerful, significant relationship with Saturn. And that's a whole other topic of Vesta altogether. I could make this video a lot longer if I went into that. I kind of shared a little bit about it earlier in this video, but feel free to, I've written articles about it. The book explains all of it, and I may do more sharing about Vesta in the future. In fact, I'm going to be interviewed about this book, and I work with Vesta by Mark Hines in the very near future, and there'll be a workshop online. So stay tuned. Sign up for my newsletter at inspirenexus.com, and also tune into the YouTube channel for also announcements as well, social media too, Facebook, Instagram. I look forward to sharing more with you. You can find me at inspirenexus.com and at mystaralchemy.com. And you can also go to shamanicastrology.com, although that goes into turningoftheages.com as they redone their school. And this is my education was based on Daniel Mario's Shamanic Astrology paradigm. And you can email me at inspirenexus@gmail.com for questions or for inquiries about readings and classes and events. And I also do astrocartography. Thank you all for listening in, watching this, and like and subscribe if you do. and tune in for more if you really want to learn more about astrology. And I look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Take care, everyone.